Donald Trump is our protector? I don't think so. The stakes starts now. Well. It has been a week. Michelle, I'm happy to see your face. I just got back from New York and couldn't see you because I was there so quick up and back for CNN last night. But I was waving to you from downtown.
From Hudson Yards, right?
From Hudson Yards. Yes. It's never a dull moment there when I do CNN. I'm sure many of you saw it. I posted the clip. I got to tell you, I'm just over it. I'm over the mansplaining. I'm over the condescension from men. I'm over the MAGA's lying. I'm over all of the consequences and the price that people are paying for MAGA and for standing up to them and what happens and the lives, innocent lives that are ruined or disrupted, like what happened in Springfield, what's going on there in Springfield, Ohio with the Haitian immigrants and Donald Trump and MAGA like tripling down on it. Like all of it just last night, I was taking no prisoners.
Oh, listen, Frank Luntz like honestly had it coming.
I mean, look, like I've known Frank Luntz for years.
Like I'm like, stop.
Yeah, like he really needs to not, right? And it's a good thing that the producers were yelling for us to go to a break because that segment was like extra long because of all the breaking news. And tonight, guys, there's so much breaking news the last couple of days. What I mean, I'm like, it's so much going on. I have like sensory overload. And I'm still getting over the nausea of taking the train to and from New York City because I get terrible motion sickness and Amtrak is the ride from hell for me. So I'm like trying to get it all together. But like, yeah, they were yelling at us to go to a commercial break and because I had a lot more to say to him at that time. And it did carry over into the commercial break, but we'll talk about that later. We have a great guest tonight for our show. Not only is she a Seneca Project advisory board member, but Ruth Ben-Ghiat is also one of the preeminent historians in the country. She's an expert on fascism. And she wrote this amazing book called Strong that I refer to all the time. And I'm like, if you haven't read Strongmen, you've got to read it. It is a handbook to understanding the moment that we're in now and how like MAGA and Trump is actually a lot more like Mussolini than Hitler. Ruth is she's a historian and teaches over at NYU, and she's fluent in Italian, which makes me very happy. And she is our guest tonight. We're going to talk all about women, democracy, MAGA, what's going on. And I want to welcome Ruth Ben-Ghiat. We'll get to all the other news after Ruth has to go, because we've got all kinds of stuff. Oh, by the way, Ruth, welcome.
Hi, glad to be here.
Yes, we're thrilled to get you because you're busy. You are in demand. And
who knew that specializing in fascism and military coups and stuff like that was going to be so relevant to early 20s America?
I mean,
craziness.
It's surreal at times. It's surreal. And, you know, before we get into that conversation, Michelle reminded me, folks, those of you who are regular watchers, last week we pre-taped the show for the first time ever. I forgot to mention that during the show. And we're like, we'll be fine. Michelle had a concert to go to that she had in the works for months. And so we're like, we'll just pre-tape the show. And then there's the breaking news. Literally 10 minutes after we finished pre-taping the show, the Mark Robinson news broke. And then 20 minutes later after that, the Olivia Nunzi story broke. So that's why we didn't talk about it, folks. And normally I would mention that we were pre-taped, but we didn't get a chance to. So I just want everybody to know that's why. Get that housekeeping out of the way. Back to Ruth and what's happening now. We are live today, live. Not like last week, but so Ruth, are you as scared as we are about what's going to happen possibly for this election? Because I have a lot of concerns about the chaos that's being sown. And you're the expert in this. I want to know if the agita that I have is warranted.
It's just the unknown, because, you know, Vice President Kamala Harris could well get the popular vote, and yet you know, MAGA is planning all kinds of trickery, and they, you know, there's many people invested in having another Trump presidency, way beyond the GOP. Think of all the Heritage Foundation, which, you know, Project 2025 is 120 organizations now. So there are many thousands of people invested in this, and all of them can be destructive in their own ways. So I think it's the uncertainty and the stakes, right? That's the show. I mean, I'm thinking all the time about this idea of, you know, mass deportation. And, you know, the numbers that are thrown out casually, and we had a preview about the total racist mentality with the treatment of Haitian immigrants in Ohio, where JD Vance says, I don't really care if they're here legally or not, if they're US citizens or not, they have to go. And that's like ethno-state stuff. That's like fascist stuff. So when people, you know, Trump has interviews and he says, oh, 15 million, or Kevin Roberts of Heritage says 15 million, I want to say that is more than the population of Sweden or of Belgium or Haiti or Cuba. This is such, the magnitude of what they think they'd like to do is like the old school dictators. That's how many people, and strongmen think big, but the chaos and the abuse, I can't imagine what it would be like. And that's just one thing. There are all the other rights that we would lose and all the other abuses. So of course we all feel very nervous, because the stakes have never, ever in our lifetimes been so high.
That's why we settled on the name. When we were trying to decide the name, right, Michelle, we were like, what about this? What about that? And we were like, it's the stakes. It's all about that. Like, there's so much at stake for this election on so many levels, but in particular for women, which is who we talk to all the time. The idea that Donald Trump, and I'm sure most of you folks saw this, that Donald Trump earlier this week came out and has been desperately trying to appeal to women, right? We know that he's got a problem there. And so he's overcompensating in very weird ways. And the speech, I guess, was it North Carolina, Michelle, or Pennsylvania? Where was he? I think it was North Carolina.
It was Indiana, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Pennsylvania. Which
is like about 40 miles outside Pittsburgh. So Western Pennsylvania.
Which is also an odd place to be, because it's not necessarily the suburbs of Pittsburgh, but like you would think that, I don't know what the strategy is there, but whatever. I don't know. But he went on this bizarre rant about being women's protectors, which was also what he tweeted, Truth Socialed, whatever the hell that is, the night before this rant. And do we have that rant, or do we just have our
I have our version of it. Yeah.
Okay. So of course we had to make sure that folks heard this, and we did it in our Seneca Project way to show him talking about this, and then we'll show the protector, and then we'll talk about it after. It's nuts.
I always thought women liked me.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy.
I make this statement to the great women.
Questionable comments about a young girl.
You going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
I am your protector.
Carol opening her testimony today saying, quote, I'm here because Donald Trump raped me.
I want to be your protector.
5 former Miss Teen USA contestants told BuzzFeed that Trump did in fact walk in on them while they were changing.
And so I sort of get away with things like that.
You will no longer be abandoned, lonely, or scared.
Donald held back Ivana's arms and began to pull out fistfuls of hair from her scalp.
You're not going to be in danger any longer.
I turned around and I see Donald standing there. I'm thinking, this son of a bitch just grabbed me.
Women will be happy, healthy, confident, and free.
Trump called Epstein a terrific guy, adding, it is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
You will no longer be thinking about abortion.
They're going to just let me bleed out here.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah.
You will be protected, and I will be your protector. Women.
I was able to terminate Roe v. Wade. I got rid of Roe v. Wade.
Killing Roe v. Wade.
Your reaction, Ruth?
It's just so creepy. And that voice he uses when he says he's going to be the protector. And this is the voice of the abuser, the voice of somebody who restricts, women's liberties in the home too, right? Who wants total control over women. The other thing that comes to mind is when he says that women won't have to think about abortion anymore. They won't have to think about anything. They'll be happy and free, right? He also, this is a parallel of what he was saying about voting when he was telling not just women, but women and men at an evangelical gathering where he said, you won't have to vote anymore. If you just vote this once, you won't have to vote anymore. And as somebody who studies fascism, you put those together and it's terrifying because that's what fascists do. They promise that they're going to take care of everything. They're going to relieve you of the burden of having choice, whether it's voting or bodily autonomy or taking care of being a woman who's independent. They're going to make all the decisions for you, and you leave it all up to them. And it's very ominous and very creepy.
I alone can fix it, right, Michelle?
Exactly.
I don't even know where to begin. I mean, it's so infuriating. The gaslighting of the whole thing too is trying to make women believe that what they're seeing and feeling and experiencing is not happening to us. When we're seeing that women are dying, and there was a couple stories that came out last week in Georgia, the 2 women dying of pregnancy complications. And that was just in 2022, right after the Dobbs decision. And there's been a 56% increase in pregnancy related deaths in the state of Texas. And those are just the ones that are reported, and it's all because of Donald Trump's presidency and the appointments to the Supreme Court that he's made. And if he is in office again, I can only imagine how much worse it's going to get.
Yes. The fact that his people try to say that, oh, abortion doesn't matter anymore, or women won't need it, or where are these women that are bleeding out in a parking lot? It's the overwhelming response to that dismissal of what women are experiencing, I think, has unnerved the campaign, which is why Donald Trump is going off on these bizarre rants, right? He doesn't know how to handle that. I mean, his professional political people do, but he's not capable because he's a predator and he hates women. And this is how he really feels. So it's entertainment. He's protecting. You could tell that he doesn't really believe that.
No, he almost laughs when he says it. You can kind of see him smirking.
Yeah,
that's right. The smirking. That's like just also, he never loses a moment to show his scorn for women. And, when I was writing Strong Men, I decided I was going to put a chapter on machismo. And it's the first book to elevate masculinity as a tool of rule alongside violence and propaganda and corruption, because it's absolutely central. It's sort of hyper macho, bully. And so that's you have to exalt the strong man, I alone can fix it. And you have to put down women. And there's all these case studies in the book, but one of the common things is that these guys come up and they're popular among men and some women when there's been a perception that women have gotten too many rights. They've gotten ahead too much in society. So we need like a correction. We need a backlash. And that's of course what happened in 2016 and onward. But I really wanted to honor the experience of women in that book by having this chapter on just how toxic and dangerous authoritarianism is for women. And I have a line where I say, women are as much the targets of authoritarians as the press, prosecutors, and opposition politicians. They are an enemy of the state in almost all authoritarian states.
And you wrote that book in 2018? I'm trying to remember when I read that.
Finished it.
2019?
I finished it. It came out in 2020, so I finished it in 2019.
Yeah.
But he partly, Trump partly decriminalized domestic violence. He narrowed. So I was able to track most of the things he did for his presidency, because I think I turned it in early 2020. He narrowed the definition of what could be considered domestic violence to only physical. So that left, emotional abuse, economic and financial impoverishment, all the I will be your protector, all that stuff, that was no longer actionable. So we forget that he did that, but that's in line with who he is. Right?
I forgot that until just now.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and Biden reversed it. And if he comes back, he's obviously gonna, who knows, it might be even worse. Who knows what he will do, because he's dripping with hatred for women. He also feels aggrieved. And when these guys come back to power, they're never more moderate. They're always more extreme and more hateful.
Mm-hmm.
I am your retribution. He wants to be
That's
a protector and also the punisher, which is not a great combination, and also doesn't really work with democracy. So for people who think that our democracy is going to just be normal and the stress test that we've survived so far will survive again, are sadly mistaken.
Yeah.
And, the idea that women are just as much the target as some of these other groups that he very openly says he'll go after, I think is that's a good reminder that no one is safe under a Donald Trump regime, because it wouldn't be a presidency, it'd be a regime. Go ahead, Michelle.
Right. No, and that's where I always like to remind my fellow white ladies that your whiteness is not going to save you. Your socioeconomic status will not save you with what these men have in store for us. Project 2025, they're literally telling us what they're going to do. They printed it out, put it in a book, and then distributed it. They're not, they're not comedians. This is for real. This is for real. And we are in a very dangerous situation.
We have Ruth for a couple more minutes. Michelle, I know you wanted to talk to her about the JD Vance childless cat ladies and the way that he speaks to women. And we have a video we want to show. And also the religion and the machismo that Ruth was talking about before, and how that has, men going to church and women not, and the oppression there. So where do you want to go first?
I would actually like to just take the religious route, just because, I think that the young white men in the MAGA movement is one of the more terrifying pieces of all of this, is that they're young, they're motivated, and they seem to really be flocking to this Christian nationalism. And there's actually an article in the New York Times about this. In the First Among Christians, young men are more religious than young men, which makes a lot of sense, because they feel like they need a place of belonging in all of the resentment and that they're feeling. And women obviously are, feeling like, oops, that this is not, the church is not a place that's maybe necessarily welcoming to them. So I would,
the patriarchy in the church and religion subjugates women a lot.
Right. So I would just love to, Ruth, if you could elaborate just on, historically how religion has played a role in these rise of authoritarian leaders, and, where should we look to kind of see where we might be going?
Yeah, just about the gender part of it. It's interesting because the brand of Christian nationalism, there's many, many people who are these, whether they're actually ministers or they're people like Michael Flynn, who has his Reawaken America tour, which is a radicalization tour. It gives the brand of kind of holy war that some of these people are preaching, gives young men permission to be angry. And so it's a very angry brand of faith, and the whole rhetoric of battle. So that's part of it. Not all faith leaders are using that, but Christian nationalism, the way it's evolved as a MAGA tool, it is a war. It's a war for civilization. It's a war over, Satan, and Satan is now not just immoral people, but Democrats. They are an internal enemy who must be vanquished. It's very it's like the Crusades. and there's plenty of
it's like apocalyptic, and they use this where they use this and they supersede that belief over our own constitution, which is what makes that really scary. Like Denver Riggleman warns about this all the time. Another one of our Seneca advisors, he warns about that, the Christian nationalism stuff, because that's part of what he deals with in his line of work as well, in data collection and extremism and all of that. So go ahead.
Yeah, because, they really want to, and it's, so there's the evangelical and non-denominational Christian warriors, that's the Michael Flynn's and others, the large churches. And then there are far-right Catholics who are connected to Opus Dei. That's another kind of warrior Christianity, Leonard Leo. But what these have in common is that they really do want to destroy the separation of church and state. And this started, during the first Trump administration, where, for example, he put this guy, Roger Severino, who's very big now in Project 2025, he put him in charge of the Office of Civil Rights inside Health and Human Services. Now, it was supposed to be civil rights for Black Americans and others, but it became turned into protecting the rights of white Christians. So white Christians became the people who were disenfranchised, the victims, and we have to remoralize the country and protect white Christian rights. And so that's like a preview of the kind of thing that could happen. The flip side is it's very interesting that women are leaving because they feel alienated by this atmosphere. That's interesting. I didn't finish reading the article, but I want to see if they interviewed women as well as men, to see how women are articulating their discontent.
Yeah. So for people who we're voting has already started in some places. And for people who are looking at this situation going, okay, what do we need to do? What do we need to look for? And if I'm just a regular person, how can I be helpful in trying to combat the disinformation and the misinformation? And what are the things that I need to look for in the final weeks of this election? And, post-election day, if the chaos happens, like what do you tell people who are going like, we're overwhelmed, what do we do? Are we going to save this or what? I think the bottom line is we got to get Kamala Harris to win, but that's not where it doesn't end there.
No, I mean, obviously they're going to claim what they've been doing, MAGA, is try to delegitimize all democratic institutions, to make people lose faith that you can have a fair election, and that's destroyed. So you can't have a fair election. So Tommy Tuberville said, oh, we shouldn't even have elections anymore because they're so rigged. And so the idea that, everybody's being cheated. And then another thing to look for is, if you're looking for signs of escalation, is you don't want just polarization. You want people to feel like an existential threat. And that's how you get people, this is the MAGA side, to feel that they need recourse to violence, that there's no other way. So great replacement theory is a form of, like, we're going to be extinct. White people are going to be extinct. But there's many versions of this. Even like women are going to take over. Women are going to overwhelm us men. So that kind of extreme rhetoric, which is designed to create enemies and also get people to feel that only violence will solve things. We can look for that.
It's starting in Springfield, Ohio. It's ground zero. Springfield, Ohio, exactly. And the Haitian issue is the new caravans. It's the new, because the border crossings are actually at a 4-year low right now. So they can't use that excuse now.
They'll try still.
Well, yes.
To their audiences.
Right. But it's all about Springfield, Ohio and the Haitians and the Brown Menace. And so it's we've seen this before, unfortunately. And if you want to know where, read Ruth's book.
For real.
It's illuminating, and it's easy. It's an easy read. It's not like some boring drug, history. No. It's a page turner. It will it will give a lot of context for what we're in now, and that this has happened before and it doesn't end well. So it's up to us to make sure that we do not go down that path. Ruth Ben-Ghiat, thank you for spending some time with us, and have a great evening. And thank you for your support of Seneca Project. And everybody follow Ruth if you haven't, or if you don't, and get her book if you haven't. So have a great evening.
Thank you. Thanks for all you're
Bye,
doing.
Ruth. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
I mean,
I know we could talk to her for 2 hours. Like,
I know, truly, I feel like, you know, it really wasn't a question. It's just something I kind of wanted to comment on. I don't know if you remember, last October of 2023, we were at the Stop Trump Summit in New York.
Oh yeah.
And she was on one of the panels.
Yep.
And the thing that I love about Ruth is that she speaks about the scariest parts of this in the most matter-of-fact way.
Yes.
And it's like kind of unnerving.
Right.
I remember she was saying that sometimes coups can be violent and quick and fast, like taking over governments, but sometimes they can be slow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what we're experiencing right now, at least attempt to, coup the United States government and our Constitution, slowly chipping away in all the ways that Ruth said, diminishing faith in our institutions, things like that. But she compared kind of to what's happening now to what happened in Chile.
Yes. Pinochet.
Yeah, which really, I mean, I have to tell you, Terry, it stopped me in my tracks.
Yes.
And I haven't been able to shake it.
When I read that part of her book, I was like, oh, because we don't really think of that. Like, kind of what happened in Chile and Pinochet is, most people don't think of that as an example when we're looking at what's happening now. We go automatically to Europe and what happened in World War II, and Mussolini and Hitler and Stalin and all of that. But the Pinochet example is one that is pretty accurate too. Like the way that whole thing unfolded, and what's happening in Hungary. I was going to ask her about Viktor Orban and we just ran out of time because she had to be somewhere to be. But the whole obsession with Viktor Orban. It's this weird obsession on the left. I mean, on the right with Viktor Orban, and this weird obsession now with trying to sanitize Vladimir Putin.
Mm-hmm.
But what Orban did in Hungary is what Trump wants to do here. That's why they latched on to him.
They had a CPAC. Yes. They had a CPAC in Hungary. And then he came here to one of the CPACs they had in Texas.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts. And what did he do? He did it all under the guise of democratic institutions. It's democracy. No, with the media, with, the certain rights and voting and the elections, like it is exactly what they're trying to do here. And it just pay attention to who they idolize.
Yep.
There's a reason why they're attracted to that.
And who they demonize too. I mean, just the way that they've been talking about Zelensky, during his visit to the United States this week has just been disgusting.
Yes.
Ronald Reagan, as they say, would be rolling in his grave.
Spitting in his grave. I say this all the time. It's shocking how far the party has come. I made a reference last night to even the acceptance of the racism and these miscreants in the party, because Clay Higgins, this racist congressman from Louisiana, put this horrible tweet up yesterday about the Haitian immigrants, calling them thugs and telling them,
God, voodoo and all the spelled wrong.
Yeah, misspelled voodoo. It was vile. And then he deleted it and then tried to bullshit his way out of it and hide behind religion when
they always do this. So I'm going to go in the corner and pray about it.
Right.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Like it's just, and I had to go down the litany of things to remind people that Clay Higgins voted for David Duke and liked him and didn't really have a problem with him, and how he has a history of violence against Black men and all the other horrible things that he has said in his career since he's been a congressman. Like, this is who he is. Right. And the Republican Party's just like, oh, well, he made a mistake.
The tribalism on the right has taken a new form. I don't even know what to call it anymore. It is, well, it's a cult. It's a cult. This is how cults are.
Yes.
And actually, there is a cult expert. I actually don't know his name, but he has a Twitter account, I believe, and an Instagram account, and he talks about this stuff all the time. Go and find him. I'll try to put it in the description later.
It's not Hassan, is it? Stephen Hassan?
Maybe. I think maybe.
He's he used to be a Moonie and he got out of it, and then he's turned into.
It's possible.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, he's one of the ones. Expert is like the name of his account or something.
Yeah. He's one of those that talks about that. Yeah. I've interviewed him before.
It's really, really scary. And even more so, I've been watching the Alex Wagner on MSNBC, where she's going around the country and interviewing undecided voters in these swing states and stuff.
I'll never understand the undecided.
I'll never understand it. But, this election is going to come down to a few thousand voters in like 5 states, maybe, of voters who are not like you and me, not like those of us, those maybe who are watching. These are low information voters that are just now kind of tuning in. They might be voting for Trump because they like the way he talks, or, he seems good for the economy, even though everything and everyone's telling them otherwise. Especially people in unions. I don't understand it. And this, the tariff stuff, I mean, I could go on all day, but it's complete madness. And,
because people vote against their own interests all the time. What do I say? Cognitive dissonance is a hell of a drug.
Right.
And the tribalism and the cultural war stuff is superseding the common sense about, what's actually in their best interest as union members. So
and I apologize. I'm so sorry. It's just the sirens are constant.
Oh my gosh. Well, you live near a hospital, right?
I do. But it's just, I don't know if it's what's going on, if there's something in the water, but it has just been like nonstop this week. And I'm going to feel like I'm going to lose my mind. No, it's listen, I'm not 100% convinced either way how this goes in November.
Me either.
Because people, a lot of my friends reach out to me because I'm always, the person that they go to ask questions. And they're like, well, she's going to win, right? I'm like, maybe.
Right.
I hope so.
It's not guaranteed. I mean, it's incredibly close. As we've been on air, I got an alert from Bloomberg, because Bloomberg does Bloomberg and Morning Consult. They do polling, and their polling says that among likely voters, that Kamala has a very narrow lead in the swing states, but it's all, like, mostly within the margin of error, and that's not enough. It's not enough. I mean, it's good that she has the momentum has been that she's gaining, or maybe has taken over in some places, but it's still incredibly close. And if you see what MAGA has been doing in some of these states with changing the election rules, with tinkering with the election boards, they are gearing up for the chaos.
Purging voter rolls.
Yes, you just said it was it North Carolina that just purged?
North Carolina, somewhere else, forget where.
700,000 people. Georgia pulled this shit in 2020 and 2022, by the way. Virginia, where I live, their early voting has already started, a little bit on a smaller scale. Virginia doesn't have as many shenanigans as some of these other countries. I feel like
there was a state that forgot to put her name on the ballot.
Yeah, it's.
Or they forgot, right?
Yeah, they just forgot. No, I mean,
you don't forget to write one of the candidates on the ballot.
No, I mean, and if it's ever a reason to pay attention to what's happening in your local elections, that's like your local, who you're voting for locally. This matters. Like in Florida, you elect your supervisor of election. They're elected, so it matters. It matters.
Listen. Nobody feels that more than me today.
Oh my God. Yeah, we have to talk about your mayor.
I debated whether or not we should talk about this because, I'm like, it doesn't really pertain to like kind of what we're doing, but I actually think that it does.
And it's
matter.
Big news. It's big
news,
deal.
But it also, there's a few things here. So Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, I'm sure everyone has heard, has been indicted for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, solicitation of a contribution from a foreign national, bribery, all kinds of things. Now, Anybody who knows me knows I've been screaming from the rooftops about this guy since day one. I was like, y'all,
Day one.
he is reeking of corruption. And it's the one time I have ever walked into a voting booth and not filled in the bubble on the top of the ticket. I usually am always like, pick the one who's the least terrible. I couldn't do it because I was like, I won't be able to live with myself.
Yeah.
And here we are. So, listen, there's a few things here. Number one, New York City is the biggest city in the United States. We are the capital we're the center of the American financial world. We have the NASDAQ, the stock exchanges here. We are a huge target for terrorism. We have the United Nations here. A lot of times what happens here affects the GDP of the entire country.
Mm-hmm.
These things matter. It also matters that our elected representatives are not above the law. And this is a man who has been soliciting illegal contributions from foreign governments. Now, if you don't know this, to the people watching, New York City has a really cool thing. So in our local elections, we have matched funds. So if a campaign can raise a certain dollar amount, the city, the taxpayers match that dollar amount. And it's to kind of make the elections a little more fair. We also have ranked choice voting as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because that he was accepting illegal contributions in that match funds, he illegally obtained $10 million in public funds.
Right. This
that
is
yours
bad.
truly is a taxpayer here.
Mm-hmm.
We pay a lot of taxes in the city of New York.
Mm-hmm.
Something like an 8% income tax rate here on top of state and federal.
Yep. You guys are taxed out the wazoo, like California.
We pay a lot of taxes here. Listen,
yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm one of those people who feels like I pay taxes to live here. I love living here. There's a lot of great things, that come with
it's the greatest city in the world. I get into arguments with people all the time about this. And you can't have first of all, it's the first time a sitting mayor has ever been indicted, which is kind of shocking to me, considering all of the wild shit that's gone on in New York City over the history of the city, like from Tammany Hall and all that shit. Listen, how did nobody get indicted before this?
People have theories as to why not, but in my opinion, I think, well, first of all, he's been targeted by these foreign governments since he was Brooklyn Borough president.
Right.
This is far beyond, far before he became mayor. This is when he was a very, no power in the borough presidents, really. And they were looking at him as this kind of up and coming guy and thought, well, we can give him money. We can, lift him up and give him things and he'll give us back. I mean, one of the things with Turkey, I'm sure you saw too, was the building, the quid pro quo that they were doing with the building where they wanted to put the Turkish consulate and circumvent.
He calls up the building inspector like, hurry up, rush this.
From the FDNY and says, you're going to do this. And because the fire department was like, no, it's not up to code. It's not safe. And so the guy who was in charge of this felt that he was going to lose his job. I mean, his job was threatened. I mean, this is the Trumpiest stuff ever. And this is why it matters.
It's textbook corruption. It's intimidation. It is very Trumpian. And to your point, this is why it's relevant, because a couple of things. First of all, the fact that Eric Adams is currently still the mayor of New York after the type of indictment that just came out is a direct byproduct of Donald Trump. The era of Donald Trump.
Doubling down,
not apologizing, blaming everybody else but yourself. He's blaming racism and blaming whatever. And, it was made up. Same thing with Mark Robinson. Right. In pre-Trump, Mark Robinson, A, never would have been the nominee. But B, if anything like that had come out remotely, even just just the fact that he was on Nude Africa, never mind all the other shit, he would have been out on his ass. And because Republicans would have been like, no, this is not okay, especially in the Bible Belt. Like, no, maybe New York, you might have survived it, but no. Okay.
Yeah. But even so, like New Yorkers, like we don't put up with shit here. Elliot Spitzer, look what's happening with our
David
governors
Patterson,
and stuff here. We're like, bye, get out of here.
Get out of here. Right. New Jersey too. We've had our fair share in New Jersey of scandals as well. but eventually they have enough
catches up.
decency to leave and say no, you know. But
Time to go.
Republicans, they're like, nope, we're doubling, tripling down. Mark Robinson, no, it wasn't me. It was AI. It's made up. It was him. Okay, like stop it. That's why his entire staff has resigned, and I think he's answering the phones and locking up the office and mailing out like this guy has virtually no staff left, and understandably. And guess what? Eric Adams had a slew of people resign, including
in the last week or two.
Yes,
and a lot of those were like he was giving out jobs to his friends and friends of friends. So like I think that this indictment is the tip of the iceberg. I think that there is so much more that is underneath the surface
100%,
here.
100%.
And I think that, I always like to remind people, Eric Adams used to be a Republican. Donald Trump used to be a Democrat. It does not matter.
Yeah.
If you are criming, we don't want you here.
Right.
We don't want you here. At least, I wish the rest of the country kind of had that same view, because I can tell you if there's one thing that brings the people of the city of New York together, it is how much we don't like our mayor.
Yes. Well, I mean, a lot of people are like, Maya Wiley should have been mayor, and she should have.
Listen, I loved Catherine Garcia, Ray McGuire. I mean, these were the people that I was rooting for. I ranked Andrew Yang on my thing.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't have to rank
over Eric Adams.
Listen.
Yeah, that should tell you everything you need to know right there.
Yang, please.
Well, we will stay tuned and see what's happening, because there's also lots of other like judicial news too. You had this Eric Adams thing going on. You've got Jack Smith. I don't know if it's dropped since we've been on, but Jack Smith is going to drop his January 6th brief at some point.
Oh, gosh.
Should it be unsealed or not? This is kind of a way to get the public possibly to see what the accusations are, what their case would have been if the Supreme Court hadn't granted this immunity bullshit and ruined the whole thing. They're still plugging along, though, trying to use the levers of our justice system to at least move some type of justice along on the January 6th case against Trump. Trump's people were back in court today arguing that his $450 million judgment for his business fraud that the Attorney General of New York brought against him, that was unconstitutional or against, statute or whatever, and they're trying to get that thrown out. I listened to some of that today, and I don't know. The three judge panel, the appellate court, they had some tough questions. They were skeptical about some things, so I don't know if that's going to be upheld or not. It would just be another infuriating miscarriage of justice that Donald Trump seems to weasel his freaking way out of. It's
Teflon Don.
I cannot. So there's all of that going on. There's also this double standard with Kamala Harris. She gave an interview this week. She did an interview on policy with Stephanie Ruhle. Was Stephanie Ruhle a more friendly reporter? I guess you could say that, yes. But Stephanie Ruhle's no slouch. She used to be a financial reporter.
I was going to say
what she's talking about.
Yep.
She's a tough bitch. She's been on, with Wall Street guys and all that, and she knows her stuff.
Bank. She's been around a long time in that world, and that is a tough world especially for a woman to be in.
Yes.
It is testosterone overload in those places. And she, made a name and carved herself a little lane. And, she's extremely successful and very knowledgeable. And to have her asking the questions about the economic policy and stuff to Kamala Harris, I mean, I can't think of anyone more qualified to be asking
smart.
those questions.
It was a smart decision. And I think that Harris handled it really well. And this whole thing about, she needs more detail in her policy. Donald Trump doesn't give details about anything. Where is
I have a concept of a plan. I have a concept of a plan.
That's okay. That's fine. Or I'm gonna start giving money away, and we're just gonna make IVF. Everybody has to have IVF, and we're gonna cap credit card rates, which is what Bernie Sanders proposed, by the way, a 10% cap on. First of all, the president doesn't get to do that. They don't set monetary policy like that. Not in our free market. So which is it, people? But no, Kamala Harris has to explain more about what percentage points this way or that way she's going to do. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares. They keep saying they do, but they tune out.
There's so many layers of misogyny and racism and tribalism baked into that stupid argument, because obviously women always have to be 10 times better, more prepared for every scenario, especially if you're a woman of color. if you're a woman of color, or a woman of any race, really, and you don't have your own biological children, I mean, these people are looking for every reason to discredit you. And they continue to do that, even though she's probably one of the most, qualified people to be to be running for this job.
Yeah.
And
but she's dumb, she's stupid, she doesn't know any
she's
better.
Top,
she's
they
right.
Like to say.
All the same tropes, all the same tropes. It doesn't matter that she was elected to all of these positions and earned her way. Like it doesn't matter. And it's infuriating to watch this because the misogyny that's being reinforced. It goes back to what I started the show off with, which like last night with me on CNN. My passion about what's happening and the racism and the lies and the fact that those MAGA people sit up there and spew that same hatred and nonsense as if it's fact and as if it's just perfectly acceptable. I have no patience for it. I don't. Nobody else calls them out. I am not obligated to give them the benefit of the doubt. Fuck that. They have not earned, they have completely lost any opportunity to have the benefit of the doubt when you support Donald Trump and the lies and the stuff that is hurting people and the putting people's lives at risk, whether it's women and and taking our rights away, or whether it's lying about immigrants. Is our immigration policy great? Nope. Do we have problems in this country with immigration? Yes, we do. And they've been going on for 30 years. And no, that side is not interested in fixing the problem because they want to demonize them. So you don't make up lies and endanger people and endanger children because you want to get a political point across. No, that's dishonest. It's intellectually dishonest. And I'm not going to sit there and let you get away with it and just both sides an issue. No, sorry, I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to be mansplained by someone telling me that my passion is the problem. No, actually, it's not.
Oh yeah, your passion, your emotion, your you're hysterical, Tara.
That's right.
You're too emotional about this.
This yelling over people is not what the American people want.
You, Tara.
But he wants to help. He's on my side, though, Michelle.
Listen,
I want to see you succeed.
Every time I see Frank Luntz on one of these shows, and he's like little, and he's talking down like this, and the dramatic pauses, and then the leaning over to you to try to tell you like he knows. He's a Republican pollster, okay? He has a fake Oval Office in his house that he had built. He used to be roommates with Kevin McCarthy, okay?
All correct.
All correct. Kiss my booty, y'all, because I am not doing this anymore with these people either. I mean, I'm not on panels on CNN, but I'm here with you. And I'm sitting on my couch last night with my husband watching this. And it's funny because when Gretchen Carlson was on the panel with you,
I was so thrilled to get to meet her.
I love Gretchen Carlson. She's so nice and so awesome.
She is.
And, again, not something I knew that I would be saying from 10 years ago. You know, Gretchen Carlson from Fox News is kind of all that was in my head. But when they showed that she was on the panel, my husband looked at me, he's like, is she the Republican side? And I was like, I think she's like on the Tara side. Like she, comes from that world, but she's a sensible person. With values and morals and understands kind of where we're coming, where we're going, and the dangers of it all. And
a huge advocate for women based on her own experiences. So originally, because the show got hijacked because of the Eric Adams news, but we were supposed to talk about the victims of Donald Trump who came out and they were in one of George Conway's ads. His PAC put out these ads using
I should have clipped that. It was so good.
I know but yeah, George Conway and his PAC, they used them and their own voice, and that's why I think they wanted to have Gretchen on, and also because she's promoting her advocacy for women and what her organization Lift Our Voices does. So, but it kind of got hijacked. We didn't talk about that, but she was still there on the racism and what was happening, and she was like,
and
I'm upset
part of this.
Yes. And I didn't realize that was an important part of her identity. I didn't even know that, but she's right. I said it last week about don't hide behind religion with Mark Robinson. Like, stop it. Stop using that as your crutch. Jesus. No wonder God sent a flood.
Listen, I debated whether or not to tell this story. I haven't told you this because we haven't talked, but I will say, I'm not going to say who because I didn't ask permission yet to share the story. So I'll say it's someone
Probably not necessary.
very close to me called me from work yesterday and said, there is a new person in our office. It's a new hire who refuses to shake women's hands because of his religion. I'm not going to say which one. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Refuses to shake the hands of his female colleagues. Now, I said to the person who told me this, I said, I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, that feels like, listen, I'm not a constitutional lawyer. I'm not an employment lawyer. I don't know. I think there's probably some overlap there. But at what point does your freedom of religion come over and start hurting me and taking my opportunities away from me, excluding me from conversations or, experiences in my workplace? Right.
Wow.
And it made me think of like that stupid Mike Pence thing where he's like, oh, I don't want to
go to dinner. Right.
I can't have one-on-one meetings with women.
Yeah.
And how that's like illegal.
Yeah.
It's illegal, not to mention, again,
very Handmaid's Tale-y.
Very Handmaid's Tale-y, like, no, I can. And
right.
It is, again, holding women back in these places that were built for men. And we have had to squeeze ourselves into these patriarchal places in the workplace.
Yeah. It's the subjugation.
And I just, I was like sending them like a million articles today, like read this. And he's like, I know, it's so messed up. And I was like, someone needs to report this. This is crazy. I'm like so angry about it. Cause again, it's like, oh, my religion supersedes you. Being valued as a human being.
The interesting thing is, and I'm not a lawyer either. And that's like for a bigger conversation. Maybe we'll bring someone on to talk about this because religion and gender are both protected classes. So how does that work?
I know. This is where like the con law.
Yes.
And employment law.
Here's the thing. Well, we don't need to elect leaders who would be on the side of subjugating anybody.
Correct.
And so Donald Trump is in the business of doing that. Kamala Harris and the Democrats so far don't seem to be. And that's kind of the decision here. It's a binary choice. And so it's starting. If you read even Timothy Snyder and what he has written, he's written on tyranny. That's another must read.
I got that sitting
Folks,
over here.
We don't like to tell people to go do homework, but it's worth it because we want you to be informed voters. Yeah, you could read it in a day.
Very tiny.
It is. Along with How Democracies Die. Yes. He has a new one out called, that's the old one. And he has a new one now about democracy and freedom, which is, he just came out a couple weeks ago. It's amazing reads. And it just, again, it puts it all into context. We've been here before and it can be overcome. But we have to all be in alignment on the importance of maintaining our democratic institutions. And you have to be able to recognize it and recognize what the threat is and how to combat it. And that's part of why we say galvanize women, save democracy, because all of these issues, to Ruth's point earlier today, and if you're just joining us now and you missed Ruth Ben-Ghiat with us, the historian, go back and rewatch the beginning of the show where she has a chapter in her book about how women are targeted in authoritarian regimes, that women, no matter what class, race, whatever, are seen as threats to authoritarian regimes.
And also I would encourage anyone to go watch the speech that Meryl Streep gave at the UN about women's rights in Afghanistan. And how so many women in the 70s held so many positions in the medical field and in the educational field. And then the Taliban came in and now they are not allowed to speak or sing in public.
There
was like a female cat in Afghanistan has more rights than a female human. And she says, she's like, the cat can sit there and, feel the sun on her face, but these women can't. And, it is a cautionary tale for all of us. It's same with Iran. What happened there? It was a pretty free and open society for so many women. And then go back and look at the pictures, the way they used to dress comparatively to now. It's don't think it can't happen here. It absolutely can, especially when it's wrapped around religious extremism, you know?
And yet this election is too close to call as of today. So let that be our call to action, everybody, that we cannot have this election be this close. Make sure if you are in your state, a state that has early voting, go and vote. Get your vote banked
and bring people with you.
And bring people with you and spread the word, because we cannot afford to sit on our asses or look back and go, what could I have done? How did we get here? We can't afford to do that. Can't afford to do that. So go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, you go ahead. No, you finish your thought.
No, you go.
Because I was going to take like kind of a segue, so I was.
Oh no, that's okay. I'm just saying that this is the ball game. This is why we do what we do. This is why at Seneca Project, this is why we create the content we do to inform and to get people motivated. Because JD Vance can call us miserable all he wants, but what do I say? We're not miserable. We're motivated, and we're motivated to protect not only ourselves but also to protect our democracy. Because women have done it before. That's right.
I'm pissed off.
Heck of a motivator.
Listen, I mean, I've always been very interested in politics and college. All my electives outside my major were all in poli-sci and history and everything. But the reason that I jumped ship from what I was doing to this is because of what was happening to women, what I knew was going to happen to women. That is why I am sitting here today. And this is why I, for the last 8 years have been really immersed in this world. And now it's like, what I do, because I honestly don't know that I could live with myself trying to do anything else, as sometimes as miserable as it is. And my hair is going gray.
Me either. I can't imagine doing anything else in this moment. And to steal a line from Hamilton, what a moment to be alive. What a time to be alive. And
and I want to say also about our content too.
Yes.
Obviously, everyone's support that, whether you share our content or if you send us $5 or make any sort of donation, like that helps us make this content, and then also helps us make sure people see the content. And sometimes that's not, it's often not on TV because, the cable and broadcast advertising placement is so expensive. And also digitally, we can be much more
better reach. Yes, better reach, more precise. Yep.
To the people that we want to reach. And, we have such great people. Obviously, we have our big ads and stuff, and we have the ad people that work with us. But also our web video, rapid response stuff. We have people from The Daily Show and from Stephen Colbert and different, Bloomberg and stuff. People who really, really know this world and have an edge, and they're funny and they're smart, and they help me and Tara kind of craft these great videos together that really make an argument and make our message even clearer. And one of the things that I was thinking about when I wanted to show you, I don't know that you've seen this. So on the JD Vance front, he's just such a tool. Like,
why not? I mean, why not? We can, as we wrap the show up, why not motivate people more by showing more JD Vance tool stuff? Because
I don't know. Did you see the video of him playing Buck Hunter?
I saw. Yes, I did. When he
was
trying to attack Tim Walz.
Our friend Matt Negrin, okay, he sometimes works with us. He's a friend of mine also through work. And he's very, very funny. He's written for Roy Wood Jr. All these things. Anyways, he does a breakdown of this video.
Yes, this is actually very funny.
It's so funny,
especially if you know how to shoot guns too. It's kind of like
so funny. And I'm actually gonna put it in the screen where we'll be on the side.
Oh, we can comment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is a new feature, by the way, that Michelle discovered. And so look out. So moving
watching
forward,
Don Lemon show, I was like, oh, I didn't know I could do that with StreamYard. So I'm just going to play this and hope it works. Okay.
We can comment.
Are you ready for a 3-in-1 JD Vance scandal? Because this TikTok that he just posted has everything. First, let's just watch it. It's 9 seconds long. Let's watch it.
Hey guys, JD Vance here, playing a little buck hunter before a rally in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, also known as the closest Tim Walz has ever gotten to real combat. Have fun out there.
Oh, Tim Walz never killed anybody in a war. Great, you got him. Here's the thing. This game is not called Buck Hunter. It's called Big Buck World. There is a game called Big Buck Hunter, which came out in 2000, but that's not this game. The one that you're playing, which says at the top, is called Big Buck World. No one calls this Buck Hunter. People who play this game just don't call it that. I get that seems like really small, but like JD Vance has never played this game in his life. He wouldn't call it that if he has. Number 2, when you play Big Buck World, you shoot a bunch of animals with a fake rifle, and then it tells you your shot report. Let's check out JD Vance's shot report, which comes up as the video starts. Oh, 2 misses right out of the gate. This guy hasn't even seen combat in a fake safari hunting video game. This is a bad shot. He sucks. They used this take. That means he tried to do it multiple times and he couldn't shoot a fake video game antelope. He's right next to the screen. See the slack in the gun? Like, you're supposed to stand farther back. He's like right next to it. The way that like when you're a kid and you're playing Duck Hunter and you go right up to the TV to try to shoot it. He's doing that and he still can't hit it. Okay, finally, after the beginning of the video, there's this very unnatural zoom that happens. You can tell this is done in the edit. It's not like you're doing it with your fingers when you're recording it. They did this in post. The reason is because if you've played Big Buck World, you would know that after your shot report, these images come up. Oh, the Big Buck Girls. These are fake video game characters wearing a bikini and a skirt and holding a gun, and they tell you how to shoot better, and they offer you a bonus round. Obviously, JD Vance cannot be seen next to women like this, especially fake video game women like this, because that would look bad. Here's the thing, and this is not like a joke. Project 2025 wants to ban pornography and expand the definition of pornography to include sexualized video game characters like this. So this is a game that JD Vance wants to ban, and he's playing it because he's a hypocrite, because he's a liar, because he likes big bucks and he can lie. I would like to apologize for saying that in this video. That was horrible. Anyway, JD Vance, you suck at this game.
Oh my gosh.
I saw that and I was like, I could not break that down any better than Matt could.
No, Matt's good for it. He's witty. He's a brilliant editor. And I think it was a good way for us to wrap up the show tonight with a little humor at JD Vance's expense. So on that note, folks, we are going to say good night and we will see you next week. We'll be live. Don't worry. We will tell you when we're not, because of course, the freaking one time, not one, but 2 major stories. My gosh. But don't worry about it. We're still there. We're still with you. Thank you, everybody who continues to support us. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for keeping us going. And we've got a couple left, folks. We're in the home stretch. But we'll see you next week.
We will. I'll play you out with some more JD Vance.
Oh, how lovely.
JD Vance, who is now effectively the political heir to the MAGA movement.
We're effectively run in this country by a bunch of childless cat ladies. Roe versus Wade is an abomination.
There's something comparable between abortion and slavery.
When asked about the exception for rape, he said rape is inconvenient.
I asked Vance if he thought anti-abortion laws should include exceptions for rape or incest.
Look, I think 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Have you changed your stance?
Look, Martha, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Look at the extraordinarily restrictive policies toward women that he has supported.
JD Vance of Ohio told me that Republicans should back a national 15-week abortion ban.
He said you want to ban abortion in Ohio and across this country. Is that true?
Look, I'm pro-life.
JD Vance claiming that women having the ability to leave violent and abusive marriages has harmed society.
One of the great tricks that I think the sexual revolution pulled is this idea that, like, well, okay, these marriages were fundamentally, they were maybe even violent, and so getting rid of them and making it easier for people to shift spouses like they change their underwear, that's going to make people happier in the long term.
You've got JD Vance in Ohio running for Senate, talking about childless women are the problem and are destroying the United States.
Cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too.
I think this video has made me rethink the 19th Amendment.
Will women have the right to vote tomorrow if you wave that magic Christian wand?
No.
A federal ban on abortion, ban mifepristone, ban stem cell research, and expand access to fertility awareness family planning methods.
If you dress like that and you get raped, and I'm on the jury,
he's going to go free.
If you're in your early 30s, I'm sorry, it's like you're not as attractive in the dating pool as you were in the early 20s.
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman.
Yeah, there has to be some form.
These women are getting paid salaries to play for a league that, economically speaking, shouldn't exist.
Abortion's not health care.
We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
The Project 2025 plan is not a game. Look it up.
In July 1848, courageous women came together in Seneca Falls, New York, to start a movement. They dared to fight against treatment as second-class citizens. After decades of struggle, women fought and won the right to vote, to work without discrimination, to control our bodies, to even open bank accounts without the permission of a man. Each one was a triumph against those who believed we didn't deserve them. Well, today, those hard-fought victories are under attack. Donald Trump and his allies are determined to send us back to a time when we had no say, no freedom, no choice.
I got rid of Roe v. Wade.
Do we want a future where our daughters have fewer rights than our grandmothers? Where their bodies are state property? Their voices silenced? Their opportunities erased? We say hell no. We won't go back. This November, we must take back what is ours. For ourselves, for our daughters, and for the pioneers of Seneca Falls. It's up to us.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? There has to be some form of punishment.
This election, it will come down to the women turning out in the battleground states.
We know that when women show up, we win.
We've got one job to do. We have got to beat Donald Trump and elect the first woman president of the United States.
We have work to do. We have doors to knock on. We have people to talk to. We have phone calls to make. And we have an election to win.
It is a brand new race.
It's a moment that I feel like people are energized.
Kamala Harris is bringing that energy.
Women are fed up. This is their lives. This is their body on the line.
Birth control is at stake. I cannot vote for a man who rolls back women's reproductive rights.
If Trump gets the chance, he will sign a national abortion ban, but we are not going to let that happen.
Abortion advocates are going to come out even harder for her because they know that she has been their champion in the White House.
The government should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
It was Kamala Harris that was cross-examining the very nominees that became the justices that overturned Roe v. Wade.
Vice President Harris, former prosecutor. Donald Trump, convicted felon.
I will proudly put my record against his.
She has overcome and overperformed and been underestimated at every turn of her career.
She's broken and smashed glass ceiling after glass ceiling.
And for all of those people asking, is this country ready for a woman president? Is this country ready for a black woman president? Well, you better get ready because Madame Vice President is coming your way.